Hey, it's Adewale here today, and today we're going to be looking at how to use AI to help you develop content, write content around SaaS, software as a service, blogs, and articles. I want to follow a slightly different format with today's video, and this is because ChatGPT has really changed the game when it comes to content writing. And there are literally people who are writing 20 articles a day are spending a lot of their time just bombarding the internet with content. And this is going to create a number of problems. One is going to create a problem for people who can still write a lot. So if you spend time just writing one article a week, you're definitely going to be left behind. But it's going to create another problem that many people may not be thinking about. And that is make it harder for people to be unique on the web. And why is that important? Why would it be important for you to be unique on the web? If you are not unique on the web, then your brand is not offering anything different. Then you have a stronger problem here. It's harder for people to decide that they want to choose you as the go-to brand. So how do you differentiate yourself? And this problem is even bigger because if you were to create content at scale using ChatGPT or any kind of other AI tool, chances are that you will run into that sameness issue. Because if you went into ChatGPT and ask it to just bang out an article, like let me say, for example, give me a 2,000 word article on how to create an attractive SaaS blog. Now, can ChatGPT do this? Yes, it can. And we all know that that's old news now. I remember the time when it seemed like some marvelous thing to be able to write an article in an hour. Here, ChatGPT would write an article for you within minutes. But what's my point here? What you'll notice is that whenever you get ChatGPT to write a full article, there's always something that just feels similar to the next article it's written. Yes, the content is different, but the format is always the same, always similar. It may not be completely similar, but it's mostly similar. So for this one, it's following a pattern of a short intro and then gives you certain tips or steps for creating the articles. Now, one of the good things that we've noticed with ChatGPT is that articles it creates, it's based on quite useful stuff. And this is something that I would include in an article. But if I was to compare this with a real article that's really working very well online on blogs that are quite in-depth and highly sought after blogs, you'll notice some difference, which I'm going to share in a minute. But before I go into that difference, let me try something here. So there's this GPT-2 output detector that was created using a model of, I think it's called Roberta, which was a model you created in order to detect GPT-2 output. Let's see if it will recognize this content as ChatGPT. It says 99% fake. So there's something going on here that makes the content from ChatGPT detectable. Having said that, before anybody starts to challenge me in the comments, now this tool is easy to fake. If I was to go through these and just put in some errors, a lot of errors, you will notice the tool tells you, oh, now it's 99.98% real. So somehow it seems like when humans create content, we naturally leave in errors, even if it seems grammatically correct. And 100% perfect content may be picked up as chat's fake. That's one part of the problem. But the other part of the problem is that when we use AI to write, it's perhaps putting certain things or certain formats and certain standards into the content that makes it a bit more detectable. And why am I talking about this on a video about how to create SaaS blogs? I think it's important that when we create our blogs, that we must do one super big thing. And that is, like they always say, stop trying to game the system. Because we could say, oh, yes, I can trick the system and write an article and put in a lot of errors so that the system starts to, Google realizes I'm real, even though I'm using ChatGPT. I believe if you're thinking like that, eventually you're going to have problems. You're going to have problems. Also, I have heard now that there are some big blogging sites who accept blogs. They ban ChatGPT from their websites. Why am I saying all of this? So that I'm not trying to make you feel, oh, you can't use ChatGPT. But I want you to start thinking that when you create content, your content must be created to be useful for people, first and foremost. Not necessarily to create content at scale so that you can gain traffic from the search engines. I think if you have that mentality of creating at scale to gain traffic, you're eventually going to have problems. Because there'll be a lot of things seeping into your content that the engines will eventually be able to detect. If this simple output detector, which is just a ChatGPT-2 detector, is still able to detect ChatGPT, because I've tried this and put in some of my content that was written purely by me, it detected it as 99%. Yes, again, as I said, you could fake it, you could trick it, but imagine what Google is able to do if this could recognize your article. I want to propose that if we use ChatGPT or any AI assistants to help us create our articles, we need to do a few things. One, we need to still make sure that the article is something that is helpful to people and brings some new dimension, new character to the pool of content that's already available on the topic you're writing. Why would people seek you out instead of other people? Do you add those into your content in a way that helps explain things very simply? Do you talk to people's misguided opinions? Do you explore traps? Do you explore obstacles? Do you hint on solutions in a practical way with examples? Are you doing these kind of things? Because most of the time when you write purely from, you use content that's purely just created by ChatGPT, it's only going to give you something that's perhaps one-sided. Yeah, it may talk a little bit about negatives or disadvantages, but it's not exactly like how most very good blogs will create their articles. And I'm going to show you what I mean just now. We're going to be writing articles, I'm going to show you today how to write articles using SaaS articles, but we're going to be using a combination of Closest Copy and ChatGPT. I'm going to be showing you how to start thinking about articles in a way that helps you to be unique online, in a way that it's just completely impossible for there to be anybody else like you. And think of it this way. If we all use a similar format of writing, every article online is going to be the same. But if we decide to create a system where we can, at will, manipulate the format that is on a page, on any page we write, and there's no sameness to all the content even on our blog, there's a higher chance that we'll just be different to what's out there. Also think about it this way. Eventually, there'll be so much information available that when you give your content, it's important that you give people insights and solutions that helps them achieve their goals and achieve their aims and give them in style. The more you do this, the more likely your blogs, your articles will stand out be sought after. Okay, enough talking, let's just dive in. So I'm going to start with looking for best SaaS blogs. And I'm going to pull up a few of these. So this is a sales hacker. And just to say to everybody, I'm not really delved in too much into SaaS, writing for SaaS articles. So I'm relatively new to this field. But as we all know, within this AI world, that's not a problem anymore. You can write for any field, at least if you have enough knowledge around that field. Okay, so this article has 10 LinkedIn profile tips to stand out. As you look through the article, there's a format that would certainly start to appear. For example, in this article, so this is almost like a list post, but within the list post, you've got here, the headline is, so that's the list post, but within each list, she also has examples of what she's talking about and steps here. So this steps is really giving you ideas on how to do that thing. So you've got one example here of how to, of how to use the space on LinkedIn profile to add a personal touch. Another example here of how to claim your own customer LinkedIn URL. Okay, what's the point here? It's a listicle. There's a listicle article. So it's got the different steps of things to do. But within each step, it's got another type of article format in each step. So the list, but in each step, one here, this is steps on how to do something, another steps on how to do something. And then examples of testimonials, take a skills assessment, and then examples, another step, and a how-to, another how-to. Now, what am I saying here? So it's almost like you're having blocks of content types within blocks of content types. So instead of just thinking of things like introduction and body, it's almost like if you've seen the video Inception, something within dreams within dream. It's almost less blogs within blogs, so tinier blogs within the bigger blogs. What am I saying here? So, for example, you have the intro of the title, the intro. Some blogs will give a what is, which is like a definition for the article. Then they will go into the article. So this article now would, for example, have how-to steps, and this will be the steps. They may have another how-to steps and then have examples of the how-to steps. Or you have why this is important, gives benefits as the blocks of benefits as why this is important, or as you said, how-to, the steps, or how-to steps and examples. So there's this kind of format that you find that's most blogs that are very sought after, that are quite well respected, follow. At the moment, you can't just say to AI to give you an article and it creates articles that follow that type of multiple block format. I don't know if what I'm saying is clear. I think eventually AI is going to get there. But at the moment, when you ask for AI to give you something, it's either going to give you something that is very bland. And when I say bland, is that the content is obvious. It's not giving any insights. It's not giving any, there's no twist, there's no turns, which makes the content more boring and same everything else. You want a situation where somebody comes to read your site, someone comes to read your page, and they feel, wow, I didn't know that before, or I didn't think about that already. Well, that is true. That's why I've been getting tripped up, so that they value the content that you're writing. Now, how I spend a lot of time talking about all of this in this video, because I've been spending some time thinking about, okay, how can I make this video more valuable to you? And what I've thought about is the importance of making sure that whatever article you create, whether it's SaaS, whether it's for any other niche, there's the importance of ensuring that what you are bringing out is unique. Because if you don't do that, eventually the sea of sameness is going to swallow you up. It's coming. There's nothing we can do about it. This is coming. Okay, so how can we now ensure that we don't get swallowed up by the sea of sameness? If you go to the Launchpad in closed copy, I've created a set of frameworks that are specifically to helping you ensure you can be different. I call them the specialized content generation frameworks. Specialized just meaning that it's a bit more advanced than just creating content. Again, all these content blocks, you're going to find them in all different types of articles. But this just allows you to be able to create your content almost like a jigsaw puzzle. So for example, you didn't have any idea of what to write, or you wanted to create like a year's plan of content for a SaaS blog. You could come to this Launchpad and use it to plan your year's content, get really good ideas for the niche you're writing, and then be able to do a deep dive into pulling out people's objections to the content or the position you're taking in the article, pull out a lot of pain points from the article, the different traps that people experience in the topic within the topic that you're writing, the obstacles they experience as they're trying to implement solutions, dealing with beliefs. So essentially got everything in here to create articles that are unique. Hard part is this. It's not going to be as easy as creating an article in 1 minute. It means that you put a little bit of more work in the article. You could still create the article in an hour or two. And if you want, you could find ways of speeding this up and create it perhaps in 5 minutes. Yeah, it's possible. But this process causes you to put in yourself more into creating the article, which just naturally also results in it being unique. Okay, so let's go through an example of what I'm talking about. So let's say I want to write articles for SaaS. I will start with brainstorming a strategy. And why am I doing that? Quite often, articles people are looking for articles that are solving a problem within a niche. And I could just say, how to write a SaaS blog post. But I want to brainstorm different problems within the niche that people will be interested in. So I put in the topic SaaS there and get a number of different solutions to types of problems that are within SaaS. So creating a business plan, attending industry events, seeking expert advice, communicating with customers, being patient. Let's use this one. I'm just picking that one out of it. So this is setting realistic expectations whilst doing your work. I don't know what that is going to produce. So we use that to then create a big idea. So I'll put SaaS and setting realistic expectation as a technique or strategy that's helping. And the idea here is once you get that, the topic and the strategy you're writing around, you just use that for just walking through all the different blocks to get your content out. So you should be expected to see some improvements. However, setting realistic expectation about yourself and others can help you achieve success and feel better about yourself. You can also learn how to deal with disappointments that come with not reaching your goals. Setting realistic expectation for yourself is important for self-confidence and success. Knowing what you are capable of and setting realistic expectation can be important to help meet your goals. I think I like this second. So this is going to be a big idea. And the reason being, in some of the blocks, you will need the big idea. In some of the blocks, you just need this too. So let's say I was creating an article and I wanted to use this format of title, intro, what is it, how to steps. I could now go to ChatGPT and ask it for each of these types of blocks. I could do that, but I have to spend some time thinking about the prompt. How would I get the prompt right? And how would I get the best prompt to give me the best output? And if I have to do that every time I want to write an article, it can actually get quite tedious. So I could do that or create the prompts that's working in ChatGPT and use those prompts and the outputs ChatGPT gives you to create your frameworks, which is what I did for a lot of these frameworks here in this Launchpad. So let's get a heading out. So go to the headline place, put it in the topic, and put in a strategy that helps. Now, one thing that I've struggled with, and you may not struggle with it, but I've struggled with this sometimes when I have a niche topic. Sometimes I find it difficult to come up with headline titles that combines the niche and the topic together in a very succinct way. So this framework allows you to create headlines that are short enough, not too long, but also brings in the context of the solution that you're trying to create, you're trying to bring in. Okay. Yes, that's the sort of what this is saying, setting realistic expectation for SaaS. So there are reality of SaaS solutions. And these headlines, you might, when you finish writing the article, you might actually beautify them more. But it's a headline that's clear enough to help in creating the rest of the content. So setting realistic expectations for new entrepreneurs. So that's our headline. Now we want to create an introduction. Go back to, as I'm doing all of this, it feels like it's tedious. It feels like it's long-winded compared to what you could do with just creating something in 1 second or 2 minutes in ChatGPT. But if you're trying to still remain unique enough, this is a process that must be followed. I think this is the thing, and that's why I spend a lot of time explaining it at the very beginning. Okay, I'm just going to go into ChatGPT and do my intro. And to make the context clearer, I'm going to use the big idea, the main idea. So I've put in the main idea here. So I've put in the title and the main idea here. This allows ChatGPT to stay in context and perhaps be deeper into the context than it would be with just the headline. And one of the things I find with ChatGPT is that when it gives you the intro, it's usually very business-like or very official-like. So sometimes I may have to make it less official or make it at level 3 speaking. Okay, so that gives me an intro. I could use one of these to create the intro, but I just wanted to use ChatGPT to create the intro. So that's an intro. But part of the intro, I like to think of helping people to think, why is something important? What is something, how do you define something and why is something important? So I got a block here. Why should I read this article? Just to follow from a brief intro. It should define what the issue is. I'll give you a bit of a what is definition for the topic you're writing, and then give you some ideas as to why this is very important as well. So you just copy the topic and the strategy. Now, somebody asked in the community, they wanted to learn how to keep their frameworks in topic and stay in topic. This is a good process. If you have the topic, you have the strategy, and use that as the backbone for creating all the different blocks. The content can stay in topic, can stay on topic, and stop veering around. Okay. So just want to make this about writing, about using realistic expectation for SaaS. That's it. Okay. We'll change this a little bit. Perhaps just using SaaS, let's use new entrepreneurs to stay a bit more on topic, on our topic. So whilst it's within the SaaS niche, this topic is within the SaaS niche, we're using new entrepreneurs as the micro niche, really. And that's going to be what we put in the topic. So let's actually put. Okay, so that's more on topic. So the point here is to get a piece of copy that convinces the reader to carry on reading. So that goes in here. It hasn't quite given me a proper what is. I'm just demarcate here so that I can put a subhead in there later. What else can I put in here? So we've got a title, we've got the intro, we've got a bit of a why I should read type content. What we could do is to go straight into how to achieve that, setting realistic expectation. But I want a little bit of what does it mean to set realistic expectation as an entrepreneur. So let's see here. When you first start out, that's normal, and it's what most people go through. First few businesses. But here's the thing. You're not the same person. Your perspective is different. You had to. Is this some sort of but first? So I'm wondering whether we should go into the traps and how to avoid them. So let's do how to traps and how to put it in the same. Oh, we need to create the traps first. So let's create some traps first. Traps existing in this big idea. New entrepreneur, setting realistic expectations. So it pulls up some traps like expecting immediate success, gives you a little bit of a brief explanation, setting unrealistic expectation, which is already there, being unwilling to fail, which is true, not knowing where to get help from, being afraid to ask for help, expecting too much in the first year. So we've got a number of traps here. So what we could do is choose some of this. Let's just choose this first one and use that and choose one more. Could choose 3 more. Setting too many goals at once. Could be a trap. Expecting to do everything yourself is also a very big trap. Let's see if we can discuss these traps better. How to trap. So we're going to have the topic, area, and strategy that helps, and trap. So these 3 things helps you keep on topic. And in a way, what this is doing is helping you talk about a subject from a more intelligent perspective. You can definitely get this kind of depth from ChatGPT. I'm going to show you how you can do that. But what you're also doing still is going a bit deeper than just give me an article. And it's also talking about things that are relevant to what the client is really looking for, right? So this would have given a bit of an introduction to that topic, may even suggest some solutions. But then this goes deeper. So you get a description of the trap, of how the trap occurs, and then you get how to avoid the trap. But first, we must explore some common traps when starting out new. So this gives you a bit of the trap and how to avoid the trap and how to avoid the trap. Okay. What if we were trying to get this idea from ChatGPT? So let's take the second trap that we have here, setting too many goals at once. So what I'll do would be somehow similar, because you see what's happened here is I've taken this content and wrapped it into a question in the framework. So we want a similar question to this, but using the new content that we have. So let me copy this as the format, and I'm going to paste my questions in there. Setting too many goals at once is the trap in this case. So this format is saying setting too many goals at once is a common trap when starting a new business. Please describe the circumstances under which this is most likely to occur, and finally provide strategies or tips for avoiding this trap. Okay. So what it's done here is give me 3 bullet points of how this problem might occur, and giving me bullet points on how to avoid that trap, which again gives me a different flavor for that section of the blocks. So for this section of the blocks, we might leave that in and then use what ChatGPT just gave me, making sure that it reads correctly. So if I just keep going through my article this way, I'm more likely to get formats that feel similar to what you see on the blogs that are doing very well within the SaaS niche. So it's not just one big block of here is the answer, but what you have is sections and sections, with each block giving the reader something new to be excited about, and what will cause the reader to keep reading on. So if someone who's just starting out, trying to kind of figure out how they can prevent unrealistic expectations tripping them up all the time, they find they can, when they come here, this gives me I'm doing this, that's a trap I'm falling for. Okay, this is a solution I haven't really thought about. And there's something new, something fresh, something exciting related to the contents that they're trying to read about. So if I follow this process, then at the end, before I get to the end, I would then go through the steps itself. So how do you've given me all these traps, you've given me ideas of how to avoid these traps. What do I actually do? How do I actually set realistic expectations? So there's a block here that would detail the steps. So what we just do is do the same thing, put the new entrepreneurs. Okay. So just to kind of mention, so what I did here with ChatGPT was really create an in-depth prompt using closest copy to get a format out. And that in-depth prompt streamlines the AI so strongly that it gives me something perfect and more in-depth for the content I'm looking for. And that's really what we've done there. And in the background, in this framework, is the same thing I'm doing in the framework, putting this and this in, and the AI would then take these two and place it in a question itself and then answer that question. In other words, with ChatGPT, I'm taking that question and giving it to the AI, whereas in the frameworks, I'm causing the AI to create the question with these two forms I've given it. And when it creates the question, it's definitely more likely to stay in context. I hope that makes sense. So setting realistic expectation and go establish realistic time. So this is now giving you different steps for how to set realistic goals. So it will be like at the end of the article, before I reach the conclusion, I will actually have maybe something like practical steps for setting up realistic goals. So these are very good steps, actually. Establish realistic timeline, identify potential obstacles, gives you a bit of an explanation, work with a team, consider hiring a coach, understanding the risk, focusing on the opportunities given, creating a vision board. Very good examples of things you could do. So in that way, you create an article that's not just one face. It has multiple faces in it, and it's giving multiple ideas, multiple ways of thinking, helping the client to see the different angles to the problem they're trying to solve, helping them to also see you as someone who's really intelligent and knows their problem. Whilst ChatGPT, just off the bat, can create an article, it's not going to give you as much depth as what we've just done here. And so what I've shown you today is giving you a set of tools, or hopefully a way of thinking that will help you make your articles seem more humane. Now, if I copied all of this and I put it into the ChatGPT output, chances that it still notices that it's a ChatGPT. Let's actually try that. But now that this is not important anymore because I've written this article to be helpful. I've written this article to actually help a human being. And when humans read this, chances are that they will say, this is so helpful. The ChatGPT would notice it as 100%, almost 100% fake. However, when Google, I'd say, okay, so I've been using similar formats to this for most of my articles for about a year now. And Google has been loving those articles and has been placing those articles between page 1 to page 4. So I've been getting a lot of traffic from Google from this. So it's not so much that Google is against using ChatGPT, but it's more that Google's going to be against creating content at scale, because when you create content at scale, it is harder to have good intentions. It's harder to make sure your content is useful. It's harder to make sure your content is engaging and entertaining for the reader. So a lot of times when I create content like this, I like to check in social media. So I post in social media, see how people react to this. If people are giving you a lot of likes and a lot of shares, and I mean, in no time you're getting almost 1,000 likes, people are finding that content useful. That's what's important. So if that's happening for you, there's going to be a high chance that Google is still going to like your content, whether created by ChatGPT or not. I think this is how we need to start thinking now as we move into the reality of content created by AI, with the help of AI. So just to summarize, we've still created our content using AI. Yes, it's a lot slower than you would do if you just let the AI create all the content by itself. Here we're interacting with the AI, choosing bits and pieces, looking for different angles to come at the article from, and using the different tools we have here. So as I said, you've got everything here to help you go in depth. You could create sentence openers. You could deal with obstacles. You could look at how to deal with wrong opinions. You could actually, one of the ways of dealing with wrong opinions, and this is another way, you could use case studies to talk about the traps. Again, hopefully you know how to get your hands on this because it is in the community. All you just have to do is go into the community by clicking these two people, it says library there, and type in specialized, or look for specialized sales content. There you go. Specialized sales content generation. Choose that. And you've got access to all these different blocks for creating more in-depth pieces. I'm hoping this all makes sense and you can see the value of what I've just described. Because if you don't set yourself apart, you're going to get buried under the sea of sameness. That is definitely going to happen. It's just a natural thing. It's what happens all the time. Something new comes out, a lot of people jump on board, they all start using it. And because a lot of people are using it, everything seems similar. And so when everything seems similar, people who rise to the top are the people who look different. And that's why in the past, what used to happen is the people who looked different would used to write skyscraper content. And that was because to write a skyscraper's content, it took a lot of time and took a lot of effort. Most people didn't want to put that time and effort into things. As such, most people didn't do that. And because most people didn't do that, those people who were creating skyscraper content rose to the top of the search engines. In the same way, I believe that the people who will rise to the top are the people who will still put in pain, the effort, patience to make sure that their content is giving the reader some perspective that they will not find anywhere else easily. And if that happens, people will still keep coming to your blog, to your SaaS blog, because this is about SaaS today. Although, yes, try to talk about a lot of different things. But they'll be coming to your blog because they know that when they come to your blog, it's different and it gives them insights from a perspective that solves their problem in a way that nobody else does. So I'm hoping that you found this video useful, and I'm hoping that the content, the context of what I'm trying to explain all makes sense. And if you did, please share. Help me grow the blog. All those things that the algorithm needs to blow the blog. Can you do all those things? Promote, share, so that I can carry on doing this and producing good content to help you get ahead in this brand new, sometimes scary AI world.